Welcome, folks. My name is Alexandre Mongeli Peneireiro. I'm Brazilian Italian citizenship. I have 42 years old. I live at São Carlos, state of São Paulo, Brazil. I have been studying physics and social science, but I not finished both courses. I'm a pianist of classical music as a hobby, and I speak Portuguese, English, Spanish, and I have been studying French, Italian, and German too. I practice cyclismo and walking. I like to see TV, and I read 500 books and 3 encyclopedias at all. I like to play behind Chopin, Mozart, Beethoven, Schumann, Schubert, and Liszt. I wrote a book entitled The Incarnation of the Verb, and when I finished this book, I have made a discovery, the theory of everything. That is the goal that we achieve in this little movie. Isaac Newton and the history of physics have been said that a question he cannot solve. Gravitation really exists, but what causes it? Well, to discover this theory, I have many problems with myself. But after a long way, I achieved my goal. And I present to you, step by step, and not with all paths, because I perhaps have a better way to a simple explanation. Well, the theory of everything is a name for a mathematical model that explains everything on the physical world. This was a very problematic from mankind since the early days of existence of man on Earth. The universe. In the universe, you have 4 fundamental forces. You have gravitational force, you have electromagnetic force, you have nuclear weak force, and nuclear strong force. Well, and I discover one equivalence for all these 4 forces, and this is above string theory. And I give name theory of everything because it is so simple, is a Newtonian equation. I explain to you that the 3 laws of Newton explain everything on the universe. You have a causal law and a differential law for all universe. Well, and since the beginning of mankind, everybody can see that everything is movement at the universe. And you don't have any special place at it. And in nature, nothing is created. Everything transforms itself, as Lavoisier said one day. And I can philosophically affirm that the part and the whole are in harmony and dependence and intrinsic relationship between each other, and unique. And this is the principle that I use in my theory, the association between part and whole as a whole. Well, I will begin with a theoretical explanation of some concepts that I use to prove what I'm saying here. And this will take a time, and I ask for you to give my English, because I'm Brazilian, it's not my mother tongue, okay? Well, we will begin with the referential theoretical concept that I use. The first of all is called momentum. The first concept I use is momentum, that is given by P, vectorial P, I give name P to momentum, equals m, velocity of a particle, m is the mass of a material point, of mass m and velocity v. and this gives me a momentum of a particle. This is a momentum of a particle of point A, velocity m velocity. Well, this is the first concept I use, the concept of momentum of a particle, okay? Then you introduce to the momentum of a pressure of a gas. If you have a momentum of a pressure of a gas. Well, if you have pressure defined as P equals S under a surface S that I'm applying the force, you have a pressure under some force that are acting on the surface S. Well, the force is equal and the contrary sign of the particles, because if you have a wall here, you have a molecule here with a momentum, and the pressure that the wall exerts on the particle is under the contrary direction, all right? And that is more exactly speaking like this formula. Pressure P equals 2/3 of number of molecules, and the velocity, the medium velocity of a particle. This I can explain represents the kinetical energy of the molecule of the gas, and is equal in the ideal gas. This is valid, or it means that 2/3 of the kinetical energy of a gas per unit of volume of this gas. And this is the most important conclusion of the theory of kinetics of gas. Then you can represent this another way, saying that the pressure of ideal gas for a given density is given by the temperature of this gas. All right, and you can continue writing that 2/3 of the velocity, medium velocity of these molecules is equal to constant of Boltzmann versus temperature. And the temperature is, this is a coefficient of transformation, of index of transformation. And you can deduce from this equation that the velocity, medium velocity of a gas, is equal to 3/2 kT. And it means that the temperature of the kinetical energy of the molecules imply the moment of a particle. Or it means that every gas that have a temperature, you have to a momentum, because this implies momentum of a gas, or because you have the kinetical energy and you have a velocity, and this proves that a gas that have a pressure implies the concept of momentum of the molecules of this gas, all right? Then I prove to you that an electron have a momentum like, I prove that the electron have a momentum too. If an electron, a free electron, have a wave associated by the lambda equals h under p. This is known as relation of de Broglie. And the quantity of movement mv is equal to p. Here is mv, the velocity of the electron And this implies that the electron has a momentum too, because this configuration is under a wave and under a particle too. And this proves that the electron have immediately, you can see here, and they have a momentum too. You can prove that the electron have a momentum too, and this implies momentum of the electron. Well, this is only for introduction. What I will prove on the sequence. Well, I prove now that light have too a momentum. Well, we'll begin saying that you can write this more complicated issue, but I can prove to you that consider transmission of plates, parallel plates, the potence is equal to P equals V I. That is the current here. Then you can write like this equation V equals E equals currents. Then currents is equal to magnetic field, and this is a transversal area that are applying to the plates. All right. EW is the transversal area. Well, this gives me another formula that I can write something like that. P equals EH, or it means that the flux of energy to transporting this line by the electromagnetic field is equal to the flux of the energy in the section of any section of the field per unit of area and time, and is equal to the product EH, or between the electrical magnetic field. Or this imply the vector is vector of point. It means that vector point, like it's null, is equal to electromagnetic field and square, vectorially perpendicular to the magnetic field. Well, and completing this proof, I will show to you that the vector of point means the momentum of light, because you have the propagation of the energy of light, and the momentum of light under the energy is equal to h lambda h omega equals 1 lambda omega, okay, you got 1 under c. And the velocity of light is proportional to the momentum. And this equation proves that the momentum, because I have density volume, moment of density volume is equal to S under C square equals to vector of point under C square. And the equation is intimately a relationship between E equals mc square, the equation of Einstein of energy. And supposing all these things and combine with the vector of point, I can prove that light, like a photoelectrical effect, light have momentum. When a photon is pressure on a surface, it means and exert some pressure, right? Well, and in the second, I will prove that gravitational waves has momentum too. This is one important step for fulfill my objective, and the second to the proof of my theory. Well, this the proof of this is much more complex, and you need to know some general relativity of Einstein. And it is very complex, and you have to understand the Riemannian mathematical solutions for these equations. Something that I have been studying for some time, but I not have complete dominion for this. But I will explain, showing that if I have particles moving under a geodesical line, a particle is moving by a geodesical line x alpha of S. Under S is the length of arc here, right? And this consider x alpha of SV a parameter of family for these curves, right? You have many curves here of geodesical under this from this family, and the change of parameter of V correspond to one geodesical curve to another. If I change V, I change the curve. Okay? Well, and we can introduce two vectors following from these definitions, something like that. This one vector, me, the alpha, SV, equals con the differentiation, partial differential of x alpha, the ds, length ds, and another vector n alpha of s, of SV equals to the differential of x alpha, the dv. We have introduced these two vectors, and following the quantity that are considered on the sequence is that this is the derivation under V. This is derivation under S. And we have the very low quantity D, the derivative second of alpha and alpha of ds. Derivative second. This is a geodesical change. It's interpreted by the physically like the acceleration of a relative between two particles infinitely near one another in moving between in the geodesical and the role for the quantity in the theory of gradation is obviously the well-known equation of this that is well-known, plus R That's the tensor of Einstein. This equation showed that the acceleration between two particles moving each other without external forces, not gravitational, is completely determined by the physical components of the curvature tensor. This is the curvature tensor, and this is the acceleration, relative acceleration. Well, consequently, if I change the components of the Riemann tensor here, this implies the acceleration to be changed. All right? In this way, we can show that the acceleration, when I change the relativity here, implies the momentum of the particles of the wave, gravitational waves. It means that I change the geometry of the space, I have the change on the acceleration. Well, and this is the equations of Einstein, and prove that if I change the Riemann tensor, and that's association to the momentum energy tensor of Einstein, I change to the acceleration. Then I prove that the wave gravitational fields is determined by it implies that they have momentum too, or these particles. And following this, I prove the quantum momentum. Okay, quantum. I need to introduce this concept first because I use this on the sequence because these are preliminaries, right? Okay, if I can give the quantity P equals hk, this is momentum, or this is an impulse. This means in quantum physics an impulse. Well, this property is because the impulse is in classical mechanics, all right? And the impulse, classical impulse, is under the Newton's law, the value equals to the medium impulse of quantum physics. The medium term of the quantum physics is equals to the classical impulse. Okay. Then what I'm telling that is impulse in quantum physics, it's equal to classical physics, Newtonian physics. Okay, and the P can be determined after the recoil of a shock of a particle, like in the classical mechanics. All right, then it's a point of similitude between quantum momentum and mechanical Newtonian momentum. Well, after these preliminaries, I introduce my theory, as I call him, the theory of absolute. And I have two laws. I have a causal law and a differential law. These two laws commands our universe. Okay? Both laws are one law, but we can prove step by step. Okay? If I consider the law of conservation of momentum. As we saw in the explanations, the mechanics like heat and electromagnetism, optics, gravitational fields, and quantum mechanics are all these concepts in one concept, momentum. Everything is momentum. That's the good see. You can see this. Everything is momentum in the universe. Everything is momentum. It means that I have in every aspect of universe a momentum. AMV, as we can saw in some examples I follow until now. Well, and momentum, like we know by classical mechanics, I have conservation of momentum. Conservation of momentum. On the universe, I have conservation of momentum. It means that momentum is eternal on the universe. And I have two kinds of momentum. I have linear momentum, and it follows a line, and angular momentum, a circular movement. And these two combined gives me all universe. And you have conservation of momentum, both linear and angular momentum. These are theorems of classical mechanics. Well, know that we have conservation of momentum on the universe. I prove that P, the momentum of universe, all universe, is equal to 0. Vectorially. It means that if I make a summation of all momentum of all particles of the universe, it gives me 0. All right? I prove that. Let's go to the proof of momentum is equal to 0 on the universe. If you have a work, concept of a work on physics is given by this formula. Work is given by force in a given way, the air, force. And from this, I can write this thing, this formula. And E as kinetical energy of the particle A. The impulse is defined as F, force, in time. This, I prove that is vectorially. And if I make the dimensional analysis from these equations, I can write something very simple. I can write this very simple, and all I can write is something like that. F equals dimension of force, kilogram force, meters, second, square, where T is dimensionally time and second. And substituting F in the equation and T in impulse formula, I have force equals dimensionally kilogram force meters and second. This is what? Momentum. Or impulse is equal. Excuse me, I make a mistake here, is impulse. Impulse is force. If I substitute time, multiply this both things, I have impulse. And if I cut S by this S square, I have M under S. This is giving me impulse. That's equal dimensionally momentum, because this is velocity and this is mass. Mass and velocity. It is implied that the dimensionally, the concept of impulse, the same of momentum. Or it means that impulse and momentum have the same aspect, dimensionally speaking. All right. And we can affirm that dimensionally impulse is equal to quantity of movement or momentum. Then, to prove that, I explain that P, momentum, and a time minus another momentum T1 is equal to impulse T1, T2, and a time 1 and time 2. And by the law of Newton, I have substituting equations, I can write something like that. The integral of in time T1, T2, F. This gives me the variation of moment in time T1, time 1 and time 2, because the impulse is equal to the variation of moment. Well, knowing all the simple aspects of the classical physics, I can write one thing very simple too. Because if I utilize all these theorems I prove after, consider that the universe as a whole is infinite and an isolated system. It means that the universe is an isolated system and infinite. And I prove by step by step that the momentum of the universe is constant, because in nature everything transforms itself, nothing is created. Well, that's the first affirmation. Everything transforms itself. The momentum of universe is constant because everything transforms itself, not creating. By the second law, I have the third law of Newton. Action equals to reaction. Each force corresponds to a contrary force in the same magnitude. And this gives me that I have a force here, F. Because I have one force, I need to have another force, same value, but the contrary. This is 1, 2, this 2, 1. In the opposite direction. Okay? In the third step, substituting, if I substitute force in the equation of impulse, I prove that the impulse, the dimension of impulse is equal to dimension of momentum. This is trivial. And each impulse corresponds to a counter-impulse, a same magnitude and contrary direction. It means that if I have an impulse here, it means that I need to have another impulse in the contrary direction by the law of Newton. Because both forces on nature exist in a couple, right? And the 5 point and the last one is that the quantity of movement on the universe is constant. The moment of the universe is constant. He also annuls itself. It means that consider the impulse and counter-impulse. If they annul itself, but it can be considered momentum. And if I consider universe, isolated system, and infinite, I can prove that P equals 0. If I prove all these 5 points here, each impulse will have a counter impulse, and an infinite. This is an infinite and isolate universe. This is valid for an infinite and isolate universe. Well, and this means that the universe don't have a beginning in time. It exists since all times and forever. And if I differentiate P equals 0, I have another equation. And I gave to this the name of causal law. That's a law that governs universe. That's a causal law. And I proved to you the differential law that comes to the causal law as a sequence. If I make a differentiation of this formula on a matrix, something like that, equals to 0, vectorially equals to 0. If I differentiate this momentum like an infinite summation of momentum, if you have a sequence, infinite sequence of infinitesimals of momentum in a matrix, something like that, three-dimensional matrix, right? This is T0, this is time, infinite time. You have here this matrix, something as a supersymmetrical equation from all universe. This is the mass, infinitesimal mass. This is the velocity of the material point. And t is time. It represents the continuum. When this goes to infinite, this gives me all compacts on the universe, including the omega. Okay, and it is called differential law. As you can see, if I consider one frame of reference on the universe, this solves the problem that Einstein posed to itself, because I have only one frame of reference in the universe. This frame of reference is given by one imaginary system, like God in seeing the universe, but this don't imply God as something supernatural, okay? It's only an imaginary point of reference. But with this, I can make a lot of things. And we read a citation of Albert Einstein that said something like that. Today, who will be crazy to decide from a definitive way the solution of the problem? The causal law and the differential law, these two bolts permise, how to translate this in English, excuse me, how these two ways of see the conception, Newtonian conception of nature will be rejected for all forever. That's the problem that Einstein was to explain the universe searching for. The causal law and then the differential law. This gives me the infinitely closed, or the infinitely little, and this gives me the infinitely large universe. I have the both infinites here, the infinitely closed, or the atoms, the quantum atoms, and I have the cosmological problem here too. I have all universe on these formulas. All right. This is the first article that I wrote on my thesis in form of a book, and we'll finish here. Okay. We'll finish here. These two laws, the causal law and the differential law, is explained forever. Thank you very much. I continue in the second video. Thank you very much.